This chapter is not just another step in the final saga. This is one of those moments where One Piece fundamentally shifts, because for the first time in the entire story, IMU does not hide, does not manipulate, does not erase history from the shadows. IMU steps onto the battlefield and fights directly. And what that reveals about the power structure of this world is absolutely terrifying. Right after the previous battle ends, Loki's body is suddenly wrapped in blinding light. His form begins to stretch, twist, and expand, and in front of everyone, he transforms into a massive ancient dragon, confirming that his devil fruit is not just another mythical zone, but something far older, something that feels like it predates the current era itself. And without hesitation, Luffy grabs onto him and they take off straight toward Elbaf. But what they find waiting for them is not home. It is devastation. As they descend, they see massive, grotesque creatures rampaging across the land, flattening cities, ripping through mountains, destroying everything indiscriminately. And Loki freezes, because in his entire life, Elbaf has never been invaded like this, never humiliated, never reduced to a battlefield. And for the first time, he is seeing his homeland fall apart in front of his eyes. Then he feels it. That presence, that pressure, that Haki. And instantly, he knows. Floating above the battlefield is IMU, using Gunko's body as a vessel. And the moment IMU releases their power, Loki recognizes it as the same kind of Haki he once felt when he fought King Harold, meaning that the enemy he has been searching for all this time has been standing at the top of the world itself. Loki doesn't hesitate. He attacks, wrapped in dragon power, lightning exploding around his hammer, Conqueror's Haki tearing through the ground. He charges IMU with everything he has. And for a brief moment, he actually slams IMU into the earth, cracking the battlefield open. And for a second, it feels like maybe, just maybe, resistance is possible. Then IMU stands up, and the chapter changes tone completely. IMU releases a type of Haki that does not feel like anger, does not feel like killing intent, but feels like erasure itself. And the battlefield begins to lose color. The air becomes heavy, the pressure becomes unbearable, and suddenly it becomes clear that this is not just strength. This is authority given form. Loki attacks again, refusing to kneel, refusing to stop. But this time, his strike is completely halted midair, crushed, forced back, and he is sent flying like he weighs nothing. IMU doesn't move, doesn't react, doesn't even seem impressed. And that alone tells us everything. IMU then summons a massive black spear from the sky, so dense with Haki that the air bends around it, and it crashes down through Loki's dragon form, ignoring scales, ignoring power, ignoring every defense, slamming him into the earth and forcing him back into his human body, shattered, bleeding, barely alive. And this moment is important, because Loki is not weak. He is one of the strongest figures introduced in this arc, and IMU doesn't struggle. IMU erases him. Then IMU turns to Luffy and calls him Joy Boy. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, directly. This is the first time IMU acknowledges Luffy like this face to face. Luffy doesn't understand the meaning yet, but he understands one thing. This is the enemy. So he activates Gear 5. Reality bends. He launches himself at IMU with impossible movements, warping space, attacking from every angle. And for the first time in the final saga, we see Gear 5 being used against someone who is not overwhelmed by it, because none of it works. IMU casually repels him. Not with effort, not with strain, just with presence. And this is where the chapter becomes terrifying, because it establishes that IMU is not just stronger than everyone else. IMU exists on a different axis entirely. Not pirate level, not Yonko level, not even god level. IMU feels like a system, not a person. And then, just as IMU prepares to finish Luffy, Loki stands back up, broken, bleeding, barely conscious, and still refusing to fall. He tells Luffy he's not letting him fight alone, and the two of them stand side by side, facing Imu. And this moment matters, because this is the first time in the story that someone directly challenges Imu in open battle. Not through revolution, not through secrets, not through ancient weapons, but with will. And the implications of this chapter are insane. First, it confirms that Imu is not just a political figure, not just a symbolic ruler, but an actual combatant with godlike power, meaning the final conflict of One Piece will not be about defeating the world government, it will be about defeating Imu directly. Second, Loki's devil fruit being an ancient dragon strongly suggests that devil fruits are not just artificial creations, but are connected to real ancient beings, possibly even predating the Void Century itself, which ties directly into the origin of devil fruits and the lost history of the world. Third, Imu's Haki is fundamentally different from anything we've seen before. This is not just conquerors. This is not just armament. This is something that feels like it exists to suppress will itself, to erase resistance, which perfectly aligns with Imu's role as the one who erased history. And that tells us something important. The ancient kingdom wasn't just defeated, it was overwritten. And Imu is the embodiment of that overwriting. Fourth, Imu calling Luffy Joy Boy directly means the story is no longer hinting, it is declaring. Luffy is Joy Boy. Not spiritually, not thematically, literally. And Imu knows it. Which means Imu fought Joy Boy in the past, which means this battle is not new, it is a continuation. And finally, Loki standing back up is a direct parallel to what the final war will look like. Not one hero, not one chosen one, but resistance. People standing even when they should be broken. And that is what terrifies Imu the most. Not power, not weapons, not ancient technology. Will. This chapter doesn't just escalate the story, it defines the endgame. Because from this point on, One Piece is no longer about pirates versus marines. It is no longer about the One Piece. It is about overthrowing the structure of reality that Imu represents. And Luffy is no longer just chasing a dream. He is walking into a war that started 800 years ago. And this time, it will not be erased.